president to all Nigerians. I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody. A few people have privately told us that on coming back to office, I shall go after them. These fears are groundless. There will be no paying off old scores. The past is prologue.
The race of running, I am for no man, I am for everybody. Certain questions will be asked. Did he meet up to this requirement by the basis of these indices? One, his appointment in government, particularly members of the Security Council. Do they favor a particular group or not? Whatever answer you give will be an answer to the question whether he meant and followed that particular statement. Two, in addressing the security challenges of the country, has it done so well that we are all happy about it? If the answer is yes, then we have a reason to applaud him for the statement he made. If the answer is no, your guess is as good as mine. Therefore, his statement as to whether it was for everybody was good at the beginning. But by the end of that particular statement, of the first term of his office, can we truly say that all of us felt so good, so wonderful? He may have meant well, but in running that particular race, I think there was frustration along the line, which did not make that statement to be altruistic at the end of the day.
Mr. Ogule, Buhari said, he said a moment ago, I placed my hand on the Holy Quran. He said, I'll be the president of everybody. Has Buhari been the president of all Nigerians in the last 4 years? By his actions, inaction, utterances, and his famed body language. Because that was one thing at the beginning of this administration.
Thank you very much. If you want to answer that question in the right perspective, you look at what has our system been before its emergence, and what is the system like in its first 4 years of its administration. We have a system in Nigeria that you cannot say that you will make things the way they should be. You cannot say that you have a system that will generate appropriate revenue. You have a system that will adhere to budgetary discipline. You have a system.
Did you not think about that before he made those?
Get me right. What I'm saying is, you have a system before that you cannot guarantee budgetary discipline. You cannot adequately guarantee that revenue that will accrue to government posts will go to government posts directly. You have a system that is almost free for all. You have a system that the entire government transaction is viewed like a bigotry, where people will just walk in and walk out. So, but you have a system now that is accountable, that the revenue generation drive of the government is traceable, that the financial transaction system of government is determinable, and that people are beginning to be cautious of what they do, how they do them, and when and how they are going to do it. So if you look at the system from that time till now, you would say that he has been able to stick to his money, has been able to maintain what is said from the beginning. Don't forget, we are talking of a country like Nigeria, where you have a system that is not responding to the indices that Dr. Benson mentioned here in the past. See, like the security unit that he just mentioned, the truth of the matter is that there are some agencies in Nigeria that promotion and appointment are based on the line of hierarchy. It's just like Supreme Court president, chief judge. you cannot pick the next person simply because he's from your town and make him the chief judge of the federation. No.
I think you're wrong because
How
I have
do you-
instances. For instance, let's
Yes.
look at the Nigerian police force.
Okay.
When Idris was appointed, there were senior officers before Idris as IG. In fact, one of them is from my state.
Okay.
Tunde Ogunshagin from Ikerikiti, he was the IG and he was ahead, far ahead of Idris when Idris was picked as the IG. So let's.
No,
so
what-
I just wanted to correct that.
No, what I, see, it may go beyond that. It may go beyond what I just said here. It may go beyond
We've
what
seen
I
that.
just said.
I'm just telling you
No,
that
what
we've
I'm-
seen that
even-
happen
No,
several times.
what I'm telling you, let me give you an instance.
Even within the DSS.
Let me give you an instance. There was a particular agency. I won't mention that agency. The executive director was supposed to be appointed. The most senior person that is next to the person that is in the system would have like 3 months to spend before his retirement.
Do you know how many? Let me.
I want to give you an instance.
No. Before you give me that instance,
Okay.
do you know how many IGs and DIGs were retired compulsorily before
Why?
Idris could become
The question
could
is
become
why.
the IG?
The question is why.
I'm following your line of thought.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking
No,
you that
I'm
question,
asking-
so
yes.
that the public is not misinformed.
No, the public is
So
always
many
involved
AIGs
here.
and DIGs
Okay.
were retired before Idris could become the Inspector General of Police.
Okay.
So
now the question.
I'm coming to you, Mr. Gani Mohammed.
Gani, hold on. The question is this: why were they retired?
okay.
You don't know.
Oh, do you know?
No, I do not.
So
That's why I said no.
So that means your line of thought has been defeated. That's what I'm trying to do.
Mr. Dimeji,
If
wait.
you do not know that,
No,
I'm
Mr.
trying to punch on that point
No,
of
Mr.
yours,
Dimeji, just hold on.
which I've just done.
Just hold on. Just hold on. That they were retired.
Yes.
That they were retired, and those people could not even go to court and challenge their retirement. Shows that the system. Shows that the system has basis for their retirement. No, that is the truth.
Okay, let's move
That is
on.
the truth.
Let's move. Let me move on to
That is the
Comrade
truth.
Gani Mohammed.
Yeah.
If you listen to that inaugural address in 2015, one of the things that Buhari did was to thank Goodluck Jonathan for graciously accepting. Let me quote it to you. I hope this act of graciously accepting defeat by the outgoing president will become the standard of political conduct in the country. Now, 4 years down the line, that was Buhari's hope in 2015.
All right.
4 years down the line, would you say we have improved on that conduct by Jonathan? And would you say that we have really fulfilled that Buhari's hope for the country?
Yeah, thank you, Dimeji. The fact that Jonathan relinquished power voluntarily, let me say voluntarily in quotes, because there were elections and he was defeated, rightly or wrongly. You know, we live in part of the world where results of election will remain contentious even when the tenure has expired. Remember, the election between Shagari and Awolowo is still in contention to this morning and happened some more than 30 years ago.
Now, if you look at the 2019 elections,
Yeah.
with all his the attendant crisis and all of that, the issues arising therefrom, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm coming to
Would you
that.
say we have improved?
Sufficiently, we have improved.
How so?
You see, it happened yesterday. For instance, yesterday or 3 days ago in Zamfara State, the Supreme Court gave judgment against the ruling party. The governor, the deputy governor, anyway, is a single ticket. The Senate, the rep, and meanwhile, few days to the day the Supreme Court gave the ruling or judgment, the APC, the ruling government, needs, number of its men in National Assembly is so critical that it's even affecting the governance now. That everybody is looking at that. A government who has not learned any lesson or taken any lesson from what Jonathan did 4 years ago will have tampered with the result, will have tampered with the ruling.
You're talking about just one. Let me make it clear to you.
Okay.
You're talking about just one aspect of the electoral process. I'm looking at the whole electoral process, which, of course, will start from the party congress.
Yeah.
We'll start from the party congress, the party primaries, then to the real election. That's what we're looking at.
Jonathan's spirit was not an expression of the facts or circumstance of congresses at the primaries. it was at general election. That's why I reduced it to general election.
Okay.
But when you talk about generally about the congresses that went by,
I'm looking at the whole electoral, because if you say
The-
you
yeah,
want an
the-
improvement,
yeah.
it has to cascade down to all the processes.
because to narrow it to the final and general election of the presidential what have you. But generally, if we are discussing the primaries, I must confess to you that APC during the last elections, general elections, was operating below general expectations.
You were a victim.
Yeah, not because I'm a victim.
I'm just
but
saying,
yeah,
for the
not,
for
yeah,
the public to know.
Yeah, not just
You
being
were
a victim. Yeah, I obtained for my run around. They promised me that there will be primary. I went to the field the first day. They said the primary had moved to the second day. And I deployed resources to know that's how it goes in Nigeria. The second day I went to the field, there was no primary. The third day there was no primary. The third day we learned that the people who were sent from Abuja to come and conduct these primaries and return to Abuja with results. When they were, that was what they are managing in Zamfara currently. That's the pain they are going through. That is not towards enough. It's not good enough. It's not the expectation of Nigerians, because PDP that the APC took power from was in that state, and people said no, you couldn't have been imposing, because they did not even allow primary against Jonathan. In fact, the people who obtained from one Balewa, who obtained from, was somehow in quote rigged out of the primary. He didn't participate. In fact, everybody they said there was no, they should not even set form to any presidential. Yeah, it got to that level. People got angry because some people prefer a northern candidate when they pick Jonathan. That was why you see that PDP operators and gladiators in the north did not support Jonathan at the final elections. Majority of them did not. And APC having gotten to power, we were expecting that there will be an improvement over what people left PDP to come to APC. But by and large, I see Nigeria from beyond and more than APC PDP arrangement, because the only difference between PDP and APC is Buhari. When you every other person, they are either from PDP or from whatever, they are just changing basis as circumstance suits individuals. So I don't see beyond that, and that was why, as anyway, it is still the same process emerging. I'm praying for one day when there will be ideological tendency in the party politics.
Okay,
but before we close that, Ogunleye Rotimi was talking about the hierarchy and the removal and what have you. The people are misjudging this issue.
Okay.
The principal officers of security architecture of Nigeria is likely designed to reflect geopolitical zone according to federal character. But unfortunately, we have a federal character, or we have a geopolitical zone that in the face value of it favors a section of the country. Because when you talk of the old monolithic north, you have a northeast, northwest, north central. And the definition of the north will continue to oscillate between or among these three geopolitical zones. Because when you look at it, the chief of naval staff is from the south-south. The chief of general staff from the southwest and something like that.
And the chief of defense staff from the southwest.
From the southwest. When you look at all these things, you see that it reflects, the architecture reflects the general geopolitical zones. But when you now narrow it to a man from, I'm from Ajowa Akoko, a man from Ayere in Ijumu local government, that you can trek from Ajowa to that place, who is not a northerner by any standard, is a northerner when he's so appointed, and it will be so defined. The Igbira man, the Gala man, the Kogi man, the Okun, the Yagba man, they are all northerners.
Okay, quickly, let's move on. Part of the things that Buhari said is, let me read it to you, Mr. Alabi. At home we face enormous challenges, insecurity, pervasive corruption, The hitherto unending and seemingly impossible fuel and power shortages are the immediate concerns. We're going to tackle them head-on. Nigerians will not regret that they have entrusted national responsibility to us. As a Nigerian, 4 years down the line, would you say Nigerians do not have any regret that they even gave Buhari any chance at all in 2015 with what we currently have in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much. I want to briefly mention, I want to refer to the courage of Mr. Abi Comrade Gani, owning up to the fact that there was no primary election in APC. And comparing that in Ondo State, vis-a-vis other states in Nigeria.
It's spread.
Now, I want to thank him for his courage, mentioning that even as an APC man, even though he was also a victim in that regard. Now, what we had in before the takeover of 2015, that they described, PDP had their primaries, and of course, you know the constitution of the party talks about having consensus. If there was consensus in PDP, you can't compare it with a party that was supposed to conduct primaries and never did. Coming to all the promises of the president between 2015 and 2019, so many things, so many water are passed under the bridge. However, when you look at it, you will say somehow maybe he are tried in some part of his policies, but so many are, against him. I was trying to study the dynamics of the economies of Nigeria, and I discovered that it is not favoring him at all. It's not favoring Nigerians at all. One, he talked about issue of power. I was discussing with somebody recently, and I told him, I said for the last 4 years, that this administration had not generated 1 megawatt of power. I stand to be corrected. Before the exit of Goodluck Jonathan in Nigeria, the installed power capacity in Nigeria was about 21,000 megawatts. And the generated capacity was about 14,000 megawatts. Yes, in this country. I'm speaking with facts and figures in my hand.
14,000 megawatts.
Yeah, 14,000
generated and used in Nigeria.
No, generated capacity. Generated.
Not distributed.
Not distributed
Is it
capacity.
let me clear something. Is it installed?
You can talk of installed capacity.
Let me tell you.
No, we have to clarify.
There are differences in all of this.
There are differences.
Let's not misinform the public.
Yeah.
In fact, let me read to you what the USAID said. The United States of America International Development says about Nigeria. Nigeria is endowed with large oil, gas, hydro, and solar resource. It already has the potential to generate 12,522 megawatts of electric power from existing plants. But most days, it's only able to generate around 4,000 megawatts, which is insufficient.
I want to clarify.
And then at some point, within the life, during the life of the Buhari administration, they generated 7,000 megawatts.
Yes.
But that is not all that was distributed, because the distribution infrastructure is also another big issue in Nigeria. Sometimes what is generated cannot be distributed.
Yes, I am coming to all those dynamics. Now, as at the time Jonathan was leaving, I have my facts and figure that the expected installed capacity. When I will talk about installed capacity, I'll talk about generation capacity, then I'll talk about distribution capacity.
That will not take the whole of our time.
Yes, I will briefly mention them because as at the time he left, 14,000 megawatt was the generation capacity of Nigeria. And even though that before he left, we were generating about 3,500 megawatts as at that time. Why? Because we had a shutdown in the pipeline between Warri, Sapele, and Benin as at that time. And immediately this government came on board. They fixed the pipeline that was vandalized, and power generation came up, and that was why President Buhari came on board in 2017, 2018, where he was saying that Nigeria is already distributing about 7,000 megawatts. in the last 4 years, there has not been any power in Nigeria up to 7,000 megawatts being distributed to homes. What the highest we have had is 5,000 megawatts. Why? Because the system of transmission may never accommodate what is being generated. But I want to add to it that up till today, as I speak to you, in the last 4 years, 1 megawatt had not been added to the power generation of this country. 10 megawatts of windmill was to be generated in Katsina. It was commissioned, but as I speak to you, it is not generating anything. It is not, distributing.
So what's your verdict on Buhari's 4 years now?
My verdict, I want to see it probably based on the G15. You know, we could have had a lot of opportunity to describe the dynamics within the years. But we wouldn't have that time now. But I want to tell you what it was in 2015 and what it is in 2019. That if you check in the area of security, you check in the area of power, you check in the area of agriculture, you check in the area of mining, you discover that there is a slip in the GDP of Nigeria. And the inflation rate that we have as at this moment now of about 13.76 was not what it was in 2015. In 2015, where we had about 11.24%. So all these are the dynamics that are to be considered, and not the political part of it. When you look at this thing critically, holistically, you discover that there has been no much progress in the last 4 years.
So you're saying it's being all propaganda?
It's been all propaganda
for the APC government. Let me talk to Barrister Nico May. If you go through that 2015 speech, it says, but Buhari also said, we cannot claim to have defeated Boko Haram without rescuing the Chibok girls and not the other innocent persons held hostage by insurgents. This government will do all it can to rescue them alive. At the end of the hostilities, when the group is subdued, the government intends to commission a sociological study to determine its origins, remote and immediate causes of the movement, its sponsors, the international connections, to ensure that measures are taken to prevent the recurrence of this evil. Some of the Chibok girls were rescued, but then we also have the Dapchi girls. Leah Sharibu is a big issue. 4 years down the line, Barrister, some of the Chibok girls are still in captivity. Like I said, Leah Sharibu is also still in captivity. Why do you think that, in spite of the promises that Buhari made, and in spite of the promises that the APC made before the 2015 general election, why do you think that this government has failed in this regard to rescue all the Chibok girls and to end Boko Haram, as it promised?
There's a difference between what ought to be and what is. What the president said then were the objectives he had in mind.
Okay.
But the reality is what we have all witnessed. It will show that the capacity to do that which he had in mind then, he couldn't utilize it by reason of what transpired.
What transpired?
Definitely, the attacking insurgency is not the same as wishing that insurgency will go away. Insurgency is not, it's only a tree you say you want to come and hew down that will remain there for you. When you announce it to an animal or to any human being, it will take steps.
Of course.
I believe that we should have said...
You're saying that it has metamorphosed over the years?
Yeah, it should have said less.
And do more.
And do more. The Leah Sharif issue is quite sad. And I feel worried because of the 110 children that were taken away or thereabout. She was the only one held behind, and all because she said she was not going to deny her faith. And that was sad. That is sad though, because in the constitution here, in the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there shouldn't be, anybody should not be maltreated
based on their religion.
Mr. President gave a promise that he will do whatever lies in his power to get. Maybe the capacity is not there to really get Leah Sharibu out. But how?
What about the capacity to end insurgency? Why I'm asking you is that this is not the first time that Nigeria will be going through this phase, and Nigeria in the past was able to overcome it.
I tell you this: And usually I explain my things proverbially because it drives the point home. I had a senior many years ago, and in our house D, he was the master, and we're going to run a mile race. And he had said, "Don't worry, we're going to win." He ran. It was not up to half a mile when he fell down by the road, and we had to go and pick him up. Now, the truth of the matter is this. You can say you want to run.
I think I get the illustration.
Yeah. So, what we are seeing now is the effect that the running cannot be done. So, it's a true assessment.
Okay. Comrade Gani Mohammed, let me ask you this, then you add whatever you want to say to it. Would you even say that Nigeria is employing the right mechanism in fighting this insurgency?
Thank you. Let me quickly address one or two issues raised by Dr. Enikweme. One, the Dapshig, Elias Sharibo case. We must be dispassionate when we are discussing the issue of that lady. The federal government had gone to the Boko Haram to rescue some. The remaining only Leah Shaibu. Leah Shaibu couldn't have been the only Christian picked. How did other Christians rescued by the federal government escape from Boko Haram's camp? Only one person insisted that she will not deny her faith. And remember, the Boko Haram is not regulated by federal government, Federal Republic of Nigeria Constitution.
Of course.
They are regulated by religious interests that they pretend to be preaching. If you are now coming from other camp, from other faith, and you are preaching that faith, that they even kept her alive, giving her opportunity to say she accepted it or did not accept this, is a grace that she's still alive. It is beyond the federal government to decide for Boko Haram. And I'm quite sure that Leah Shaibu or Lee Shaibu was not the only Christian girl picked.
You think she should have denied her faith to secure her freedom?
I
think there are other issues.
I don't want to go into Lee Shaibu, the detail of it. Okay. But I want to tell you that the Bible says, with due respect, that wisdom sometimes
is profitable to direct.
Exactly. So she was not the only one. And the either constitutional right or no constitutional right, it does not matter Boko Haram. Then let me tell you, go to the real question now. The Boko Haram thing, like Dr. Eniku has put it, has metamorphosized. The configuration of Boko Haram Buhari meant has been defeated. You need to be in Abuja. Thank God Doctor is in Abuja. He's an Abuja person. At a time, you could no longer go out in the evening. In the Abuja city, you couldn't go to the gardens where we had our evenings. Yeah. Boko Haram could bomb there. Yes. But it's no longer happening. We no longer have local governments. We no longer have sultanate or emirate where Boko Haram will sit down and be giving judgment. Before Buhari came, we had instances where Boko Haram will be presiding on Thursday, on Friday. That Thursday, Friday were days they will sit down and be giving judgment. They had court.
Beyond Boko Haram now.
I'm coming.
Because of our time. Okay. Beyond Boko Haram, what about other security challenges? We have the banditry in Zamfara, and that one is fast catching on like fire.
I want to clarify the issue of Boko Haram, that it has been decimated. The Boko Haram people must metamorphosize into this banditry. But one thing that baffles my understanding too is this. I know our security system has capacity to curtail these people. So why they have not done it is giving me some challenge. Let me give you an instance.
And that must be the reason why this.
I'm coming, sir. Let me submit.
Let him finish his line of thought. Let him finish that line of thought.
If today you use my telephone number, Nigerian police has a gadget. if you use my telephone, if you remove the SIM card in your phone and put it in my phone and use it and return it to you, and I travel to London or travel to whatever, the Nigerian police has gadgets to tell you that on so date you use Gani Mohammed's telephone, you exchange your SIM, you use it through it. They have gadgets to do this. And the MTN too has registered, or all the service providers have registered all the SIM cards in Nigeria. Then this banditry will still telephone the police or whoever who are in the operation of rescue kidnappers. They will take money, and nobody knows where these telephone people are sitting, exchanging money and the rest of it. These are the mystery I don't understand.
Would you then subscribe to what the former president said?
That
you read his papers.
Yes, that's the whole issue has
that
become
the different dimensions.
Yes, I become a kind of.
I don't subscribe to Fulanization agenda. No, I don't. I don't.
By Saniko, man. You
want to
say something. I'm coming to you, Mr. Abule.
If I send you on errand
and I'm not doing well,
you are not doing well, it is my duty to call you to order,
or
to change you, and put somebody there.
Because the buck stops at your.
That is the point. So
success and the failure rests on your shoulders.
For example, now the point we are making now, we are not going to attribute it to the IGP.
It's not possible.
IGP did not say I was going to end Boko Haram. We are not going to attribute it to Chief of Army Staff.
He didn't make that promise.
It all ends at the table of Mr. President.
Commander-in-Chief.
So if the Commander-in-Chief has given an order and the order is not being obeyed, or the commandment is not being followed, like it happened in Benue, told the IGP, go to Benue and stay. Aware. He said was not aware. So many things have happened that Mr. President is not aware of. However, I must commend that in all honesty, and that is sincerity of purpose, that the issue of the Boko Haram attack then has to a large extent reduced. But in lieu of that, banditry, kidnapping, genocide and all other vices have.
Do we have genocide in Nigeria? Taking it too that's a big word. That's a big word. Please, let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Let me use my word.
Let's not go there. There's nothing like genocide.
Let me use my word. Banditry, kidnapping, and all manner of vices have sprung up in lieu of activities of Boko Haram. Boko Haram is now moving at the Borno Axis level, but the banditry and criminality, they are all moving at the jet level, and the essence of government
is security
of life and property. So we must ask Mr. President,
so you're saying he has failed in that regard?
If they have changed their tactics, why have you remained static and not changed your tactics
just like
addressing them?
Okay, let me. This question is still to you because I'm coming to you because of time. This question is still to Buhari. One of the things that Buhari promised in his 2015 address is the local government reform. Constitutionally, there are limits to powers of each of the three tiers of government, but that should not mean the federal government should fold its arms and close its eyes to what is going on in the state and local government, not least the operations of the local government joint account. While the federal government cannot interfere in the details of its operations, it will ensure that the gross corruption at the local level is checked. And then few days recently, the federal government came up with the NFIU, Federal Intelligence Unit, and they came up with directives. One of such is that beginning from June 1, allocations will go directly to the 774 local government. The 40 banks will be sanctioned. The limit cash withdrawal from SG account to 500,000. Any transaction above 500,000 must go via checks or e-transfer. And that the issue of state government now disbursing funds to local government will be a thing of. It is a big issue. Even on the social media, I've read Mr. Ogle, and that's why I'm still coming to you. It's a big. I've read what you put on the social media.
Okay.
Now, where I have a problem with this, Barrister Nikome, you are the lawyer here. If you check Section 162 of the Nigerian Constitution, which talks about this. Let me begin to read from subsection 5. The amount standing to the credit of local councils in the federation account shall also be allocated to the state for the benefit of their local government councils on such terms and in such manner as may be prescribed by the National Assembly. That's 1. Subsection 6. Each state shall maintain a special account to be called State Joint Local Government Account, into which shall be paid all allocations to the local government councils of the state from the federation account and from the government of the state. Then subsection 7. Each state shall pay to local government councils in its area of jurisdiction such proportion of its total revenue on such terms and in such manner as may be prescribed by the National Assembly. Now let's go to subsection 8. The amount standing to the credit of local government councils of the state shall be distributed among the local government of the state on such terms and in such manner as may be prescribed by the House of Assembly of the state. In one regard, the National Assembly. In another regard, the State House of Assembly. And then what FIU is trying to do, the Federal Intelligence Unit, if you look at it, without proper constitutional amendment, can that be done? Can you just make a fiat and say money will go directly into the account of local government without making an amendment to the constitutional provisions in this regard? In section 162.
Nigeria is a federal government by name,
not by operation.
but by operation is a unitary system of government. And sad enough. Now, when the military was hurrying out of power, they were going to go out of power physically. But I can tell you, spiritually or otherwise,
They are still in power.
they just did not want to go. You can imagine in one breath, you say money that apportioned to the local government through joint account will be prescribed by the National Assembly. In another breath, when the money is to be shared, the State House of Assembly will do it. There are a number of errors in this constitution. But let me say this. As it stands today, the local governments are under the purview of the states to manage their
That's how it should be in a federal system of government.
As at today, even in this country as at today. But the federal government is worried that the monies that come into the local government
Will not get to them.
are mismanaged.
Yes.
And mismanaged not by the local government elected officers. They are mismanaged by the state government.
Or the state governors.
The state government or governors that put local government chairman as essay. Because the chairman are essay to the governor on local government affairs. Because most of them are not democratically elected. Section 7, subsection 1 of the Constitution says that the local government administration, a democratically elected local government administration is guaranteed. What we have in various states are selected, not elected, selected local government administration guaranteed by the governors. So why the governors are fighting now, it is not because they are in love with protecting the constitution. It's because the fat cows that they take from the local government, this fat cow is about to be taken away, and therefore they are raising up their hands and saying, all we are saying, we governors, we will not allow it. Not because they love us. It is because they love themselves.
But what I'm asking you,
yes, sir.
what I'm asking you, if you now say that money should go directly to the local government, and then any local government without democratically elected chairman will not receive the allocation. But when you put that side by side by the provision of this constitution,
these are the contradictions.
Should the federal government not ensure a constitutional amendment in this regard before
this can no longer be done now? What will be done by the government, which I know that they would likely do, is that why the legislature will be easing out before appointing, electing their officers, they would have put this in place. The state governments will definitely go to court on this particular matter. That one I am sure, particularly for those of them who don't believe in conducting election for local government chairmen. But I am of the strong view that before coming out with this directive, because this is a directive, government should have done the needful. Rather than fighting with the legislature, they have put this before them, before now, and get these things amended. Once they are amended, they can take this thing off the hand of the governors. For now, the governors are not doing well.
Mr. Blair.
Local government funds.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dibeji. My own perception of the issue is that the local government system, as I see it, should be a kind of administrative centers in the hand of the governors. Constitutionally, that is where I think it should be.
In a federal system of
yes,
government.
if I'm a governor of a state, I have 18 local government, for example, in Ondo State. The governor has 18 local governments that make that state. It means that all these local governments are a kind of subset of the entire administrative system. If you now say you want to begin to send the funds of this local government to their individual units, you promote three things. One, you promote gold discongruence. As a local government chairman, I can design my projects, design my policy in such a way that
different from that of the
it
state.
will run contrary to what the governor is trying to do in that local government.
Remember, too, before you go power over what they do at the local government.
No, I'm coming. Yes, as this constitution predicts. What I'm even saying is this: the governor too, in his wisdom, he can say, okay, I know as a local government chairman, your fund comes to you, and you have the right authority to decide on what to do with your fund. Then he can, staff the entire local government of his project, and when the people of that local government call on him and say, go and meet your chairman, your money is with him. So don't you think this will generate a kind of administrative conflict? And if the constitution is not amended like you have rightly said, it can breed a kind of democratic face-off that even what they are trying to protect now, the problem will be too huge for them to manage.
Okay, let's look at the next 4 years. Buhari will be sworn in for a second term in office on Wednesday, May the 29th. Mr. Alabi, what would you like to hear Buhari say in his inaugural speech on Wednesday?
Well, we have mentioned over time here, that the issue of security, which is a major concern to every citizen of this country, is a very crucial area that we want the president to really step into. And what we have seen security-wise in this country shows the kind of president we have, a sectional kind of president that we have, who has not cared about the lives and properties of the people. Recently, the president was also gave an order that guns, all ammunitions be retrieved, people having licenses, losing them, even when that same government is unable to take care of the security concerns of the people. We see it as the president trying to undermine the lives and properties of some sections of the country. And if that being it, in the next 4 years, we expect him to really step into it, and let us see him that is not a sectional commander-in-chief. What we have witnessed in the last 4 years is a charm. And
okay, because of that, let me quickly ask Barrister Nico Meng. I know people say that 4 years are not enough, but then we have testimonies of our leaders in other climes have been able to, if not completely turn around their nations, but at least put in place the foundation to achieve that. With what you have seen in the last 4 years, would you say that Buhari has put in place any foundation that could make the next 4 years promising for Nigerians?
I believe if a person does not have something upstairs to offer, even if you make him to repeat class for 8 years, there will not be any achievement whatsoever. How can somebody say 4 years will not be enough? Most of the courses in the university are for 4 years. And we pass through that period of 4 years, and you come out with your BSc.
And become expert.
And you become expert. So why would you say 4 years you cannot manage? Listen, in Lagos State, I was in Lagos when Jakonde was the governor of Lagos State. Within the period of 4 years, Jakonde turned so many places, many things around. Sure. You hear of Jakonde housing estate in Ikorodu, Jakonde housing estate in Isolo, Jakonde estate housing estate in Aja, Jakonde second schools. In fact, prior to 1979, schools were running 3 shifts, morning, afternoon, and evening. He collapsed all of them within the space of 4 years. He was about starting the metro, something when the military took over. So why would you say 4 years will not be enough? There was a day I went to Akure shopping complex, the one by that is it Owando?
Yeah.
I discovered that place was commissioned in July 1981. It was started by Ajashin. Ajashin came to office in 1979. October 1979. And by July 1981, that mighty complex had been completed. So if these ones have something to do, they shouldn't bamboozle anybody. In fact, I am of the strong view that we should now make it almost a law. Stay for 4 years and leave. What do we call it? Vice chancellors of universities used to ask for second term. Now they spend only a period of 5 years. Whoever wants to perform will perform. These ones are not really very serious.
Barrister Inaugural, if I hear you correctly, you're saying the next 4 years, there's really no hope.
If there was no hope in the first 4 years, except you do something or something.
Okay, Mr. Gane, let's look at Buhari's next cabinet.
Yeah.
What sort of ministers would you like to see in Buhari's cabinet? Which of the ministers now, the current ministers, would you like to see reappointed?
I'm afraid I'm not so impressed with the team.
You're saying none of them should make it back?
I want younger generation.
Okay.
It's like most of them are tired.
Amechi is young, he's just 54.
Amechi is 54, is young, but Amechi is too given to politics.
Okay.
He does politics rather than doing the job assigned. Some of them, they became the spokesperson for the government when they are supposed to be doing their job. When you ask some of this ministry, you see, it's our party, we must not come to the public square like this and be analyzing them and be telling the world what they do.
We are on a round table.
But this is a round table.
We're not in a square, we're on a round table.
Okay, on a round table like this. But unfortunately, the electricity, the supply is receding. It's receding. That is our expectation. When Buhari came, everybody should know, whoever is familiar with me knows that I am always for Buhari. But electricity is not doing well. There are some improvement on our roads and transportation system. But then, the job is too slow. And more importantly, I'm still insisting that our court system should be restructured.
Buhari did promise that judicial reform in his 2015 speech.
He has not done that.
Okay.
He has not
but some people will say he did that by going after judges.
That is not reform we are talking about.
Okay, Mr. Rotimi Ogle, which of the ministers now would you like to see reappointed?
Thank you very much. To a very reasonable extent. I think Fashola has not done badly.
Okay. Well, I just mentioned power.
Yeah.
Yes, he has not done badly. You see,
In which of the ministries?
thank you very
Power
much.
works and housing. Which
Housing.
of the three?
He has not done badly in housing.
Okay.
In the area of power, he has been able to come out in the open, if you have been following him, to tell us what the sector is all about and what is being done.
Are we interested in what the sector is all
wait.
about, or in progress?
I think that
Is this not a problem of
should
Nigeria?
be broken down.
It's
Mr.
too
That
much for
ministry
him.
is too large.
Mr.
Break
Dimeji.
it down.
Yeah.
Mr. Dimeji,
Yes.
I will agree. I will
Don't
agree.
kill the man.
I will agree with you.
Fashola is good. Fashola is good. You must carry heavy trailer on his head.
It's overwhelmed.
Yes, I agree with you that the ministry should be broken down.
Yes.
It's overwhelmed.
But in the light of the ministry he combined, I think he has substantially, to me, he done well. Hold it. See, if you are looking at the government, you don't pick...
Beyond Fashola, because of our time. Beyond Fashola.
Beyond Fashola.
Who else?
Beyond Fashola. Well, I've not really studied others. I've not really...
Nigerians.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Alabi. What sort of cabinet would you like to see in Buhari's
That's
second
about what I
term?
wanted to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to briefly talk about.
If there's no time.
Yes.
What sort of cabinet would you like to see?
Fashola's ministries should be, divided broken down.
Yes,
Yes.
What sort of cabinet would you like to see?
Well, we expect a cabinet. Comrade Gani Mohammed did mention that we need
Fresh
younger
blood.
generations.
Vibrant that will not be sleeping in the
That will not be
cabinet.
sleeping. Now, for instance, there's
not
a
vibrant.
minister.
We want
There's a
younger
minister.
generation that
There's
has
a minister of this
capacity.
federal
Not
republic.
vibrant.
That once you see him on the television now, he's only out to come and announce public holidays. and that is all he does.
Who is that?
The
Interior.
You know, the interior minister is only to announce. He is less concerned with the security situation, the internal challenges that we have. So these are the
But you
nature
will
of
not
ministers.
know that. You will not know that.
Could you have
Yes, we know it because if he is performing, we will definitely.
Okay. Time is up. Let me thank you very much for coming to the round table. Comrade Gani Mohammed, thank you very much. Barrister Benso Enikome, thank you very much for coming. Mr. Rotimi Ogulaya, and of course Mr. Alabi, thank you very much for coming. My name is Dimitri Danes, and this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of the round table. Wednesday, we will be watching and we will listen to the President's inaugural address for a second time. We'll see the promises again, and we'll see 4 years from now if we will be able to fulfill those promises. Thank you for listening.